Hi guys, we're back. So we're gonna go see our next guest for this week. Let's go. I will introduce him first. He's native from Texas, and he started to play the drums at the age of 8 years old. Uh, he actually played in Nashville since 2014, like in many bands on the Broadway. Um, he also have been performing in the famous band Waterloo Revival. He's a pork pie drum, kick port, and stack cymbal and Dorsey. And he also had the chance to play on Univision on the house band of one of their show. Univision is a television channel. So let's go see him right now. Hello, my friend Luis Rodriguez.
Hey,
what's up?
Eric, how's it going, man?
Should we say Luis Lefty Rodriguez? Because a lot of time you put that lefty on your name.
Yeah, I'm left-handed. I was brought up that way to play left-handed, so that's the name stuck with me. So when I came to Nashville,
Oh yeah, you have to switch drums all the time, size because
yeah, it's a pain, but I blame my dad. He's the one that
shame on him.
Yeah, he wanted me to be lefty, so he got his wish. Yeah.
Hey, what about you? How was the COVID? I know you couldn't play much, but did you kept practicing a little bit in the meantime?
Yeah, I practiced here and there. At the time, I was living in an apartment, but now that I have my townhome, I'm able to practice more. But at that time, it was kind of rough because there was people next to me, left, right, down, up, and so there's times where I just hit the practice pad and the neighbor would literally just knock on it. But now things have changed, and so now I'm able to practice a little bit more. So yeah,
oh, that's cool. Tell us about you. I know you since 2003, I guess, or 4, something like that.
Yeah,
but people doesn't know you. 2000 what?
Yeah, like I was thinking it was like 2005, 2006.
Something like that. It's 5,
yeah. So I'm from Texas, East Texas, Tyler, Texas, and I was born there, native from Tyler, and basically I was born into music. My dad was a musician. He had a family band growing up, and that's all I knew at the time. So at 3 years old, I got my first drum kit. My dad bought me my first. It was a Junior Pro he got there in town, and saw that I had interest in it. And I remember I would ask him, "Dad, can you let me play?" I was like 6 or 7. "Dad, can you let me play? Can you let me sit in with the band?"
Yeah.
With the big boys. And no, I remember him telling me he would take me to the gigs. Things were different back in the day, in the 80s. But
for sure.
He would say, "Well, you're not ready yet. You're not ready yet." Well, I remember it was Christmas. It was a Christmas show there in Tyler, and his band was performing. Well, the drummer he was late. And I think, as a matter of fact, I talked to my dad 2 weeks ago, and he said the drummer didn't even show up. So he told me
He jumped on set.
Jumped on, and I've been playing since I was 8 years old professionally. And played in my dad's band with my family. My sisters were singer. One was the singer, the other one played keys, and played in my dad's band until I was 18 for 10 years, and then went into college, did the drumline thing, and the band that my dad had was Tejano music. So that's what in Texas, Tejano music is really, it's German influence, has a lot of accordion and stuff like that. So that's what I grew up listening. Well, once I got into college, I networked a lot and made connections. People that see me back from my younger years in Tyler, well, one of those producers knew an artist in Dallas, a country singer by the name of Gary Kyle. Okay. And that's when I moved to Dallas, got a job at Guitar Center. And while I was working there, that's when you came in. Yeah, needed some in-ears. And then, till that point, that was my career. Just played, man. Played. And I took on any gig that I could take on, even at the age of, I remember I was like 16, 17 playing Motown. I had heard it, but the actual feel playing with these cats that were like 50, 60 years old, it just like mind-blowing, man. Mind-blowing, because you're sitting here playing, going from Tejano music that you played, for 10 years, and then all of a sudden you're playing Motown, you're playing blues, you're doing all that stuff. So it's just, I've always been the type that I want to learn.
Yeah, I remember when I met you, you were doing so many gigs.
Yeah.
I mean, even now, but I mentioned like back in the days, I remember you brought me to one of your shows in Texas, and I don't remember what was it exactly. There's one strip with a few bars playing.
I think it might have been Sherlock's.
I think it's yeah. I think it's a Sherlock. Yeah. At that time, you were playing like 6 nights a week, different projects, and plus Guitar Center during the day.
Yep.
So that was a pretty good school of how to learn to play drums,
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And where I want to get to the point is like after that, you moved to Nashville. And since 2014, you did so many shows there because I wanted to have a guy like you to talk a bit about that because if you never have been, I'm talking about the people watching the show. If you've never been to Nashville, there's a few bars around, but there's the mainly streets Broadway, and there are shows on there's like bars, and there's shows in every bars. And you have to play 4 hours, like when you're in a bar. But when you told me, sometimes you do 2 gigs,
back to back,
3 gigs.
We call them shifts.
Shifts, exactly. So how you get prepared to that? Because okay, I'm not clear. How first you get there? Because you need to get in the loop, and it's not that easy to get in the loop of the music circle of Nashville.
Right. So when you think Nashville, you think country music. Nowadays, it is country, but it's a mixture of all types. You think of it, and it's here. You would never think people play reggae, people play Latin music, salsa. They play it all. Now, when I first came to Nashville, I was just like everybody else, intimidated. And because there's some heavy hitters here, you think Nashville, this is music city. So the thing was that when you come here, you have to have the mindset of you're going to go there and learn from everybody, and you have to network when you get to Nashville. I had the mindset of when I was in Dallas, it was like I was drumming, and it was like almost like it was a drummer against a drummer, like who's better. Okay. When I got here, it was a different experience, humble. Everybody, when you get here, is out here to help you out. We help you out in as much as in every possible way because we're all here to do the same thing. We want to do bigger and better things. Whether you're a session drummer, whether you're a live touring drummer, whatever it is that you want to do in music, everybody's here to help you out. You will be blown by the amount of people that want to help you out. There's on Facebook. I'm not on there anymore, but there's a page that's Nashville Drummers.
Yeah,
when you get to Nashville, if you can, join it. There's some funny things that happen on there, but then there's a lot of times where you reach out to people and you can come to Nashville and say, hey, I don't have this certain thing for a session, this certain snare drum. They're there to help you. But, also be there to return the favor if they or whenever somebody else asks. That's how Nashville is. Everybody's here to do the same thing. And that's really how it is. It made me a humble person where it's like, okay, it's not a competition. We're all here to do the same thing and try to build ourselves as better musicians and better humans, because that's what it is really. And just be prepared. Be prepared when you come here, whether you're touring session, do your homework on taking notes, getting the stuff prepared. What I realized coming to Nashville versus Texas or any other city, you're a part of this group when you're in Dallas. Say, for example, when I was playing with certain artists, we would rehearse when we were in Dallas. Nashville, it's a different ball game. You rehearse on your own. So when you go to practice, that's what it is. It's a practice with the whole band.
It's live. It's on stage.
You're not gonna sit there and waste anybody's time. You come prepared, and everybody's ready to go, and that's the way it is. So it's kind of a scary experience, but if you do your homework, things will run smoothly for you, and that's how it is, Now, as far as Broadway goes, Broadway's the strip, like you said, it's the strip in Nashville. It's 4 or 5 blocks, just filled with different music venues, bars, and different types of places. You will walk on the street one day and it'll be clear, and then the next day there's a huge stage set up, and you're like, who's gonna be there? Literally. At one point, when I first moved to Nashville, I lived right on Broadway above one of the bars. And I remember just being like, I can't believe I'm here in Music City. And then there's like the stage being set up, and then 2 hours later, Florida Georgia Line is playing. And when you're there, it's like, man, I came to Nashville to be on that stage. That's the whole reason I came to Nashville, was because I had this dream of going and being a better musician, just becoming as sharp as I could as a drummer, because that's what we want to do. And I just learned so much being here, talking to other drummers, networking. That's the main thing is in Nashville. Just say hi, shake as many hands as you can, because you never know by shaking that person's hand who they are, what they know, or
you never know.
That artist needs a drummer next week.
Yeah.
So it's a whole different ball game out here. But yeah, we're all here to do the same thing, and we're here to help each other, one another out.
Actually, it's funny because you're mentioning that. I've been 3 months there, like no stop.
Yeah.
And you introduced me with a few drummers, and I've been introduced with other musicians, with other friends or people I've met, and I still stay connected with a few of them, like most of them actually. Like I have like a few guys, like a Mike drummer. We've met at the Forks drum shop.
Oh yeah.
I'm still friend with him, and there's a few guys, and it's true. But this also, that reality is also true in other cities, like where I'm from, Montreal. Montreal is a small city, so if you network it like good, you can make connection very fast, and you never know, they can call you for, hey, can you do that gig with me, or you can sub me teaching there, or do this or that studio session. It's I don't know, maybe Los Angeles or New York or Toronto are different because are way bigger cities, but in Montreal is like it's a bit bigger than Nashville, but it's kind of same size of networking system. I think I can feel that vibe for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So so this is good. Another question, because I know your answer, but for the people watching the show, I'm sure you never bring your drum set. They have drum set everywhere. It's backline all the time, right?
Yeah, so every venue that I was talking about on Broadway, it's backline. There's a kit there. All you do is bring your cymbals, snare, pedal, and drumsticks for the most part. If you're on the road touring, your drum kit stays on the bus, on the rig, the trailer, whatever you have it, in flight cases. There's been times where while I was on the road, it rained and we didn't have time to wipe down the drums. We just threw them in there, closed the lid, and just prayed for the best next week when we opened the case. But for the most part, it's cool because in other cities, you have to carry your drums, set them up, and tear them down. Here in Nashville, it's cool that you don't have to haul your drums all around. But
you don't have much time for the turnover. It's like 30 minutes.
It's 30 minutes at most. Yeah. So by the time that guy gets off, if he takes his time, then that only brings down the time that you got to set up. Now for me, I'm left-handed, so I got to turn the kit around and then turn it back around. So it's just something that I've gotten used to, but whatever,
It's funny because I remember one friend of mine, he did a video shooting outside long time ago, and his kit was it was not his kit, it was a backline company kit, and the kit has a wrap, and they stayed the drum outside because they were shooting for 2 days, and at night it rained. But the day after, it was like 85 degrees, sun on the kit. So the wrap start to have big bubbles. We worked out, yeah. So but the kit was still sounding great. The drum didn't have been affected, but it was only the wrap was kind of weird. Yeah. And it's just a story that when it's backline company where you have less stress, and that's another good cue, because a lot of drummers, they're thinking, oh well, I will have my kit touring with my set, and but sometimes it's better not having it, because you never know how they're gonna treat them, and it's nothing personal with technician. I did that job too. I'm just saying, like, if you order like a bird's eyes maple kit of like $10,000 gold plated hardware, it's possible there's something will happen on stage. It's life.
It's about 90% that something's going to happen.
The kit will live.
It will, but it's going to look different after it lives.
It's for sure.
That's why at the time, when you're younger, you have all these dreams of, when I go on the road, I'm going to have this kit set up and this setup and these cymbals. And that's, to a certain extent, but then you don't think of the rain, you don't think of the sun. That's why after a while, I was just like, I'm just going to stick with the wrap.
That's it.
Broken glass glitter, wipe it down, and then we're good to go.
Because I was saying that because I remember like 2-3 years ago when I was in Nashville, you did a gig with the Waterloo Revival.
Yeah.
And you told me, I'm so happy I will use my kit for first time for 1 year or something like that. Yeah. It was the beautiful one, your pork pie, the last kit you got. Yeah.
The gold, it's the B 20 finish. Yeah.
Yeah. This is cool for the people that doesn't know. Just tell them what is exactly that sparkle finish, because they won't know.
So it's basically pork pie's broken glass drum
it's a
finish.
Cymbal, right?
Yes. So it's they take shavings of a cymbal.
They shred the cymbals.
When they're lading the cymbal, they take the shreds, and then when I talked to Bill and went to go visit him, he basically takes the shavings, and then he has a guy that he knows basically takes those shavings and breaks them down into like the broken glass, and it's their version of the broken glass. It's beautiful, man. When the lights hit it, it's just it's not in your face, but it's just it just shines. So yeah, cool. I've been playing that kit for 3-4 years. I've been with Pork Pie now for 10 years, and man, Bill's nothing but great to me. So
oh, that's cool.
But yeah.
Now I was just mentioning because it's a cool finish, and sometimes people think like wrap sparkle or like random wrap, or like it's. But this one is original. Time fly. We're like 5 minutes. I'm back in time a little bit. Tell us about when you were playing in a house band in Univision, because this is cool too. It's a good experience. Not everybody can do that.
Yeah. So basically, I like I said, it's the networking thing. I knew a guy that knew another guy, and just took on every gig that I could take. And then a buddy of mine, Gabriel Zavala from San Antonio, when I was playing a gig down there, I called him up and said, "Hey, I'm playing a gig. Come out." Well, when I was there, he said, "Hey, I think there might be a spot for a drummer if you're interested. I know you're 4 hours away." And of course, I said, "Yeah, I'll do 4.5, 5 hours to be on a TV show on Univision." So sure enough, I got the opportunity, the chance, and played on. It was called Maseca en la Cocina con las Estrellas. I did that for 2 years there in San Antonio, filmed, and we were on the Univision network. So it was a 15-minute segment of that, one of the shows, Despierta America, which is Good Morning America in Spanish. But yeah, on that segment, it was a cooking show, and they would have guest hosts, which were either singers or actresses. And, when I was on there, I get to, perform with different Hispanic artists, Paulina Rubio, Lupio Rivera, Jose Feliciano, Feliz Navidad. It's crazy because you hear him growing up singing, Feliz Navidad, and then all of a sudden I'm on stage with them. But from that experience, I learned a lot, and just it brought me on how to be on camera versus live totally different vibe. But it was a good opportunity. And if I wouldn't have said yes to that gig playing in San Antonio, I wouldn't have talked to Gabriel, and one door opened. And that's my thing, is just network, because you never know what opportunity that, is going to come.
It's true. And how was the rehearsal with that? Did you have to use charts? How?
Yeah. So basically, when the artist would come on there, we would perform at the very end of the segment. They had one or two songs that we'd perform with them, and so Gabriel would just give us a song, and we would write the charts out, and then perform them with them, and that was really it. Yeah, it was basically preparing me for Nashville. It's crazy because everything that I've done in my lifetime, like you said, in Dallas, I was playing over 340 shows a year, but that made me made me a stronger drummer, sharper, and just prepared me. So when I was heading to Nashville, I was scared, but I realized that everything that I had done was preparing me for that next journey. So it made it just that much easier when I got there.
Yeah, you need to be prepared. Involve a lot of things. Involve like reading charts, but also like listening, watching. Like I will give an example, but just because you were on stage and you asked me, Eric, you want to play a few songs, but that was your excuse to go pee, because
it's 4 hours you're on stage.
So I played a few songs with your band, and I never played with your band, and I played maybe 3 songs, and 2 of them I never played those songs before. So I remember the guitar player was telling me, okay, so when I will do that, you just follow me. Perfect. So we just played by visual, like it was like looking at each other, and you don't learn that at school. You will learn that on the street.
Correct. Yeah, that was the thing that I learned when I had mentioned about playing gigs, doing Motown, doing blues. When I was 10, I would go to every open mic that I could do, and it was hard on me because I was left-handed, so sometimes I would have to play right-handed gig.
Yeah.
But that just prepared me for the future. So I played open-handed, and that made me learn new techniques, new drum licks that I later on carried on. And it's just, like I said, it just carries on and carries on. Always, no matter whether you're in the studio or live, always watch. If you're live and you don't know any of the songs, watch the singer. Watch the guy leading, because he's going to say, if he's playing guitar, he's gonna go like this, and that means hit. If you're in the studio, watch the producer, because he's gonna tell you, like, always ask, how was that snare hit? How was that drum fill? Go easier on it. He's running the show. You're just there to.
He's the boss.
Exactly. So there's always somebody that you're watching. Watch the guitar player. Watch the bass player. Somebody's gonna help you out. So
that's true.
Yeah, it's easier if you just watch. It'll just fall in place.
Yeah, this is something a lot of people they don't realize. You have to do that kind of cue, and also listen a lot of music, even if you don't like it. Like, just listen at music, radio music, pop music, classic music. In all styles. I mean, can be soul, Motown, funk, rock, school, like a classic rock. Like you were mentioning country music, Western music. You don't need to know all of them, but it's a language. When you know like the basic pattern of them, maybe you won't know all the punches. Right. But you will know how to play the feel and get there,
Yeah. So, and the thing is, what I've realized is that, man, there's so many. Even just getting on YouTube, there's guys that are insane. But what I've realized is that less is more. So if you're playing a gig, don't be throwing your best licks out when you don't even know the song. Just watch, listen, feel that groove, because that's what it's about. When you feel it right here, you're feeling that kick drum, that snare. God, you're translating this, and that's the way I look at it. everything that I'm translating right here is going out. If I'm at a show, I don't care if it's 10 people, because I have played shows where there's nobody, or there's 10,000 people out in the arena. You're there to do one job as a drummer. You're there to make everybody bob their head. If I see somebody not bouncing and having a good time, I'm not doing my job. And it doesn't take all these licks to do that. It's just groove. That's it.
It's funny because I was reading a long time ago. I'm a big fan of Poogie Bell, R&B drummer, and now he's maybe like 60 years old, something like that. And long time ago in Modern Drummer, he was mentioning that it's like my paycheck is when I see the people feeling what I'm playing.
Yeah,
you know,
So there was a drummer in Dallas that I know, and I was like, dude, you're just solid. And I think I told you the story, but I was like, why? How? He said, well, my boss tells me, just think gaslight, electricity bill, gaslight, just like, that's what pays the bills, like water bill, electric,
my car.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're getting paid by the gig, not by the note. So don't overwhelm yourself with so much, because all it takes is that's really the root. That's the backbone. That's to everything, man. No matter what, that's what music is. That's what drummers are. Mm-hmm. And it's every note that you play, make it good, make it solid, no matter what. That's what makes people dance. And that's the beauty of music. It's universal. Yep. And, anytime I play it, whether it's country, whether it's reggae, whether it's Tejano music, because I still play Tejano music in my roots. As the older I get, my dad always told me this, the older you get, the less drums you bring to the gig.
It's true.
And the less notes I play. And now it's just about me making the band and the rest of the audience just feel it, because that's what we're there to do, man. Just lay that backbone down. So.
Well, that was the best conclusion I could expect. It's over now, and it's done. Time is done, and you did that well. We'll have to do another documentary on you next time.
Yeah, for sure.
So, well, it's thanks for being there. I wish you good luck with all your things.
Likewise, Eric.
2021 will be a new year for you, so I wish you good luck. And let's keep in touch.
For sure. Hey, before we go, I have a good idea for you for the future for 2021.
Go ahead.
Drumfield Cafe coffee. We need to start your own line of coffee. That's what we're gonna do.
I have one here, like full, but now it's too late for me, so I'm not taking a coffee.
But your own line of actual coffee.
Oh yeah, this is on the bucket list. We know. We have that.
There you go.
And we have one here too.
Thank you so much, Eric, for having me on the show. Thank you so much, and we will be catching up soon.
Take care, man.
All right, man.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye. Hi, guys. So now we're back. Don't forget to subscribe to the Facebook channel, the Instagram, and the YouTube channel of Drumfield Cafe. Most of the information about contests or new artists or things going on are on the Facebook right now. But Instagram, you're gonna get a lot of a unique information. So if you can subscribe to the three of the platform, you will have the best overview of Drumfield Cafe. So let's go with our next guest. He toured a lot. He toured with the NSYNC, Pat Benatar, the Moody Blues, John Lodge, Alan Hewitt, and One Nation. He worked with Alex Boyer, Martina McBride, Tim McGraw, Gloria Stefan, Britney Spears, Richard Marx, Christopher Cross, Brian Littrell, Greg Howe, and many more. He's a teacher and a very good, a crazy studio session artist. Let's go see our friend, Billy Ashbaugh. How you feel, my friend?
I'm great, man. Thank you so much for reaching out, man. Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, I'm very happy, and you're a very down-to-earth guy. I wrote you, and you're super fast to answer, so I was very happy you answered me quick.
Oh man, yeah, this did happen quick. We just originally chatted 2 or 3 days ago.
Exactly.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I saw one. The thing is, I saw one video you just posted you playing with Pat Benatar, and I was like, yeah, I should hook up with that guy. I need to contact him. So that's why I contacted you.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad. It worked for me to make the post. Very good.
That's cool. Nice. Well, let's do that. I mean, a lot of people, I know you. I know what you've done. I actually, I know you because DW promote you back in the days, and Paisty, I'm a big fan too. But I wanted you introduce yourself a bit for the people they don't know you. Like, where are you coming from? What kind of background do you have in the music, for example?
Oh, okay, sure. Well, I'm 56 now, so I'm getting up there. But I started playing. Started playing when I was about 15. I actually got influenced, pulled into the drums, if you will. I was probably about 10 or 12, and I remember going to a company Christmas party of all things that my dad had, and it was set up in a way that I could sit like right behind the drummer, and I was just for some reason mesmerized, and that just sort of planted the seed, and then I just became obsessed with it. And so yeah, I basically got my first drum set when I was about 15 and started playing professionally when I was 18.
Okay, well,
and I wouldn't recommend this, but I didn't actually take any lessons until I think I had just turned 23. So unfortunately, from the time of 18 to 23, I was playing pretty full time, but developing a lot of bad habits. I had never really studied before that. I didn't study grip. I was doing a lot of things wrong. I didn't know how to tune. I knew nothing about, rudiments and different styles. It was all just sort of, rock 2 and 4 stuff. So I consider that to be rather late in life. It was probably about 23 when I took my first lesson, which was a complete game changer, of course, and opened up many, many doors. And then from there, it just sort of skyrocketed. I actually, just did clubs and played the local circuit until, let me think, I think I was mid-30s. I was about 35 when the NSYNC stuff took off.
Big experience.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about that. That's a great experience, passing from a club to like international touring with #1 Billboard artists. How was that experience as a local drummer jumping on a big step like that?
Honestly, okay, so the truth of the matter is, once it got going in sync and they took off quick, everything was just kind of a whirlwind, and was pretty much nonstop work. So what I personally did a lot was I have this built-in mechanism where I attempt to downplay the media and the hype around the gig and try to focus on, just the fundamentals and bringing the best that I can to the gig. I mean, many times I've used that technique. But the interesting thing is, fast forward a few years and you kind of pop out of the bubble, and then you really realize, what an impact this group made, during that time. So I think, and it's interesting, and to be completely honest, with my playing and how I was developing, I wasn't, in my opinion, a real super seasoned, skilled, obviously touring drummer. So I worked really, really hard leading up to tours and during tours, just to sort of cut it, in my opinion. So I just felt like I was always right at the end, of barely being able to cut it, when the big gigs were coming up. Like the HBO special stuck out in my head as one that really, I mean, because they put this beatbox feature in this show right at the end of production rehearsals, like a day or two before the tour started. And we knew, I think it was 2 or 3 months down the road, we had to do this live HBO thing. So in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I got a few months to prepare. And that's just what I did. I had a mini disc player at the time and would record my monitor mix and would just go in the bus and listen night after night to things and fix them and adjust them. And I actually worked on my little solo piece with Justin out on the road in the bus, working on a practice pad kit on days off and stuff. So it's not like I was just sitting back and enjoying the ride and loving life. I was busting my butt, just trying to cut it in my mind. So that's the truth of the how I dealt with the pressure. It's basically practice.
There's no secret. You just mentioned something interesting. School will teach you stuff, but the school of life, you've learned from that school, and you have to adapt. And that's where you see who will cut through or not. And it's a good example of that.
It's two completely different worlds, in my opinion. And when you work for anyone, but in my particular case, when you work with an artist, I've never had an artist turn around and have a conversation or look at me in a way that ever reflected a technical thing I was playing. They felt something that they could care less what it was. Something didn't feel right. So yeah, all of the stuff in the books is great and studying's great, but you mentioned earlier about something about like my solid backbeat and stuff, pop stuff. It's all that. It's all feel. It's all, well, you get 100 drummers to play Back in Black, and you got 100 different feels. It's literally that.
Yeah. Now, when I was watching you back in the days during NSYNC, actually, I remember your solid backbeat. Like, because I think it was very important to see a drummer can play for the music, and you were playing at so good spot in the mix. It's my point of view. We care about the music, but we didn't. But for example, my mom won't never watch you playing. It's not a bad. It's actually very good because you were playing for the music and for the show. Because the show was those guys dancing in the front, singing, and you, the band, were doing a so good job. We can let go and just look at the show, and the music we were absorbing the music. And this is hard to do that because to not be a star on the stage all the time, you know what I mean? It's hard. It's hard to work on that. It's a hard point.
I think I lucked out because, like I said, I still don't consider myself to have a lot of chops as a player, but I do have more going for me now than I did back then as far as chops goes. So I really, back in those days, I didn't feel like I had a lot to say to really give me the opportunity to step on any toes. So it kind of probably worked out great, just to try to stay inside the pocket and just, play for the song. And actually it was Kevin Antunes, the musical director for NSYNC. He's responsible for kind of pushing me out of my shell and getting me to play busier, set up fills and a lot of that gospel thing, the busier fills. That was really starting to emerge back in those days. So he made it a point to push me into that. So that helped me tremendously get it, because I wasn't just going to go there on my own.
And for sure, because it's good to have like not necessarily a mentor, but someone pushing us for passing that comfort zone we're used to work on, So I can understand that. Actually, how you get prepared for a show? I know you were practicing a lot, but you were working with click tracks, or how did you start sequences, or all that was started by the musical director? How you manage the rehearsals?
Honestly, it went through stages. Like within sync, there was a time when I would actually start the sequences, and then it morphed. That was when it was an ADAT, a physical ADAT, unit.
Yeah, the ADAT. Yeah.
Press play, and one of our techs would locate it. As a matter of fact, the first time we played Jay Leno, I had to start. I remember starting and my hand shaking as I had to press play, to start the song. This is wonderful. And then it morphed into, being digital and computer world and just be done that way. But yeah, always practice with the click. I definitely recommend that. There's a definite art form to playing with the click, but not giving away that you're playing with the click. So you can create energy and peaks and valleys in the music, but you can't drift with the click, because you've got to stay dead on. There's loops and things going out front that you have to lock with, but you still have to create that energy and that movement. Without drifting. So that just takes, again, pretty much my answer for everything is just repetition. You'd be surprised if it's not comfortable, just do it some more. It will get comfortable. Yeah,
playing with the click track, it's an art by itself. Yes. I mean, you have to find the middle line where you can go get that soul, or if you want that layback feel or up front. And maybe maybe you will play with one artist, they don't like your back, like you're too layback, so they want you dead on the click track. Some are like, can we push it? So it's very important to play with that curve of around the click track.
Agreed. Yeah, I've had this conversation with a lot of students who are stuck in this world, and you have to remember, if there's something going out front that's part of the sequence that's in the mix, you really don't have a lot of room to drift, because there's flamming going to be happening out front. So you're pretty much stuck in the middle. The challenging part for me could be if players on the stage tended to push or pull. As a human, I just tended to follow them. So that was quite often the biggest challenge, was knowing straight down the middle, I got to stay there with this little tiny drifting going on around me. You know, they're out, but I can't, kind of thing.
Yeah. You know, there's people, they're like, they don't like if it's out of pitch, for example. I'm the kind of person, if something is out of rhythm a little bit, I feel bad. I cannot explain. I feel like I don't feel comfortable. You know what I mean?
I am the same way. Yes. So that really becomes magnified when your job is to lock with the time source. You know, in particular. You brought up an interesting point. Like, for instance, when I played with Pat, she didn't really run any sequences, but there were certain songs that she wanted to play to a click track. Okay. Just because for phrasing, holding out notes. And I get that. And she wanted them dead spot on. And that opened up a whole interesting thing, because I'm the only one here in the click, or the guys in the band and myself. Okay. So we were free to move with the click and push the chorus a little bit. And it felt completely natural. For sure. We're the only ones sort of drifting with the click in our ear. So that opened up a whole nother cool way to play with the click. I prefer that way. It gives you much more musical freedom. For sure. But, you know, quite often when you're rolling with tracks, it's because of sequences and loops and weird things that can't be easily produced live. So they just get put in the mix that way. Yeah, because because it, like you said, like Pat Benatar is old school. So, I mean, like just back in the 70s and the 80s, just listen songs from, let's say, like a Slayer with Dave Lombardo or Lars Ulrich or Metallica. The song would start at 1 speed, and at the end is like 5 BPM faster, you know? Yes. So many songs do that. And, you know, I didn't necessarily, you know, pick up on that as growing up as a drummer, you know? And that if you put on the beginning of the song and fast forward to the end, you're like, oh my gosh, they really sped up a lot. It's like a nice natural progression, I guess, is the song. Yeah, this is a hard thing to do as a musician, let's say, to listen of your recording and be enough humble to accept you're not right at that moment, you know, because when I was a kid, I remember I did some big recordings, and one of the producers told me, all is cool, but I really don't like that drum fill. And I was so upset by that. In my side, I was really like, no, that's the best feel ever made in the life. You know what I mean? So, but at the end, now I'm older, but at that time I was frustrated. I didn't like that comment. But after I got back, and that helped me to play like with the music, settle down, do the right thing. Yeah. If I do drum clinics, such as stuff I do sometimes, I don't care. I will do what I want at that moment. I will be on time, but I will play it for the song, you know what? But if I play for someone, exactly. Yeah. So do you do still some drum clinics or master class, or I think you've played at NAMM show or a long time ago. Do you do stuff like that? Some shows and clinics years ago. I'll be honest, I've fallen out of the loop with that, and I'm not so sure that they exist that much anymore. I mean, even before, you know, the COVID thing, I think everything was already gearing toward, you know, online master classes and stuff like that. I know there were very few clinics coming through this area compared to 10 or 15 years ago. I was way different. I know now what is very popular is in-store kind of hangout. Yeah, it's easy. It's easier for the drummer. They have drums there. They can talk. They can do a few things. Clinics, this is right. Like, I mean, back in the days, I remember I think my first drum clinics, my first 2 drum clinics were like in 90, 91, 92, I've seen. And I was a kid. I was like 12, 13 years old. And I was looking at or watching the news or looking at music information. It was, like you said, like 5 a month. You know what I mean? Like a lot. Now it's like 1 a month, 2 artists, same bill. So yeah. It used to seem like every month there'd be 1 or 2 clinics at this place called Resurrection. I got. They had all kinds. I've seen so many great drummers, and like you said, you just get in a room of 100 people, and it's so intimate. But what a great hang! But yeah, I miss those days. But no, I haven't done any of them. I mean, I've done a few, like I said, years ago. Yep. I did a clinic tour sponsored by DW, but this was 2002. My gosh, yeah. Whoa, that's a long time ago. Good Lord, yeah. It's funny you mentioned Resurrection Drums, because I found old promotion flyers from them from 90,
and I very vintage. I took a picture and I wrote to them, and they were like, "Oh my God, thanks for saying that." Yeah, that was a few months ago. Yeah, they were like super happy to. I have one of their old promotion still in good shape. It's just funny because I got cymbals there like when I was a kid, very
Oh, I
young.
used to live there back in the day when I was playing clubs. That's where I got all my gear. Took lessons, my first lessons there. Yeah.
Yo, wow, that's so just continue with that. You're a teacher too, so you just mentioned your students. So you're teaching in your studio online or person to person or both?
Well, it was before. I used to have a studio a few years ago here in town, and then I closed that up. And I was going mobile to students' homes,
Okay.
which was going okay until March. And so
Yep.
I'm not back into people's homes that much at all right now. I don't think there's much of a comfort level for that in Florida still. But I will say the online thing has actually worked out very well. I'm surprised.
Good for you.
In some ways, it's actually kind of better. The only couple of real downsides is if I have like a real beginner student not being in the room to really demonstrate and focus on the grip and stuff like that, can be a little challenging. And then I miss just like one-on-one playing with them, during the lesson. I haven't been able to do that, but the trade-off is that, you're able to reach and communicate with a ton more people than just who happens to live, 30 minutes from my home. So
yeah, exactly.
That, which is good.
You could teach people from Japan or like England, or there's no limitation.
Not yet. Everything's been in the States, but I just recently started putting stuff up on Facebook. And like I said, I'm not a social media got a guru at all. So it's probably going to be a very slow build.
That's okay.
Get the network, but that's good.
It's never too late, my friend. You can always back to the loop. And anyway, it's like if you don't start somewhere, you will be at the same place. So better start even if you're a little bit later. You're late on that topic. It's the same as if you learn a guitar. I mean, there's millions of guitar players. If I want to learn guitar tomorrow, I will be probably super bad, but at least I will try and I will make myself on it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah.
So, but that's cool because I was asking you because you have a very cool studio in your back. If the people can see it, you have a full setup, your console, your computer. So it's amazing.
My cave, yeah. I live out here.
Yeah, it's perfect. What are you the kind of guy you're always using the same setup in general, or you're the kind of person like, for example, me, I have a setup A, setup B. I have my little setup. It's a bebop set, 12, 14, 18 bass drum, or my bigger setup will be always like a 2-tom floor, bass drum, 2 snare, couple of cymbals.
Yeah.
Are you the kind of guy like that, or one setup all the time?
Here's what I am. Okay, if I got to go out and play a club,
yeah,
I got a 4-piece kit. I got it all that fits on my, my 2-wheeler that I can, tie it all in there and make one trip. When you do the corporate stuff or anything like that. But if I'm like doing a project or going out on a tour, it just kind of varies. I'll piece it together, for the particular tour, whatever's necessary.
Yep.
So
do you play? Do you use electronic? Do you have electronics, Roland, trigger, or pads, or like SPDs?
Not right now.
No.
Actually, I haven't done any of that since. Well, I did some a little bit with the Moody's. There was a little bit of that, but mainly back with NSYNC in those days.
Okay.
When I was triggering, that's been a whole lifetime ago. So I'm sure the gear I used was dinosaur compared. We did a little triggering back in those days too. D-drum triggers. That's how old that is.
But they're great.
Square ones.
I know.
A clip onto the snare drum and the hoop of the bass drum. Yeah.
They are killer. We were talking actually about that yesterday with one of my best friend. He has the old D drum, I think the D3, the module, the D3 with the old square trigger, and they are indestructible. They're a crazy good trigger, and they were like 20 years ago, like 15 years ago, maybe, like when they built those. So it's great gear.
Well, I think if I remember correctly, we only triggered kick and snare. But
they were
wonderful for that. And the whole idea that the sound man was to have the process kick and snare sound that's on the album, and we would get that from the studio and trigger, and then he would, in theory, I never heard it, but he would, he'd mix the acoustic drums so that they're right there with it, all the ghost notes and acoustic sound of the drums. So hopefully.
Yeah. So Well, yeah, there's so many gear to talk about, man. There's so many options now, and compared to 20 years back now, it's endless. You can do so many stuff with
Oh,
not
it's crazy.
much.
Yeah.
It's crazy. The time fly. We are at around 4 minutes to the end. So I want to ask you another question. You played with, except the NSYNC, with so many good singers, studio or live performances. You manage different, like kind of. I can say that, like different energies, focus from one singer or one project to the other. How, as for the young blood, for the young kid watching that show today, do you have any cues for them to get prepared well for do big production in general?
Practice with a metronome and record yourself a lot. And the only advice I can really give is if you get in a situation where you're going to audition and you're given the opportunity to work on the material and prepare, do it fiercely. And for instance, like, so when I got the Moody gig, I hadn't toured, I think it was about 11 years.
Okay.
So I was, doing a lot of teaching and not even a lot of local playing. I didn't tell Alan that when he called me to let him know that I was so rusty. But at any rate, I had, from the time I got the gig, I had a good 3 months to work on the material, and I had all the material. So I worked so hard on that material for 3 months, and I told my wife, I said, I want to go into our first rehearsal. I never met anybody. I want to go into rehearsals for the first time and sound like I just came off a 6-month tour with them. I want to be that comfortable with it. So there were some days I spent 6 hours out here just playing through the show. And for me, I'm the kind of player that after I sit with it for a while, I can then, I think what happens after I sit with it for a while, I think my ego kind of goes away and my ears start to open up and I start to listen more to the song and less of what I think belongs in the song. So in other words, the more I set on a project as time passes, my part gets better. My approach gets better. So, and I know that about myself. So I just do it. I just make the time to do it. I'm doing it right now with the project that's coming up in a couple of weeks. And it's just what I do. And the reason it paid off for me is when I went to Nashville and I played for those guys for the first time, the Moody stuff, long story short, pretty much everything I played went out the window and everything had to change and adapt. And if I didn't have the level of comfort I did going in, I probably would have just crashed and burned.
Wow, for sure.
So that definitely saved my butt that time, big time.
And you just mentioned something. It was in Nashville. Nashville has a high level of amazing musician. So even arriving there, I don't know if you've been recently. I was there like 2 years ago for about 3 months on tour. So like 4 or 5 nights a week, I was hanging out on Broadway, and even the worst band, even the worst is amazing band. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, the worst, they're like good musicians. They know like 100 songs. They play together, so it's a good school.
I don't think I've ever heard a bad musician or band there.
That's what I'm saying.
Club after club, just serious, great seasoned players. Yeah, it's great town.
Yeah, but you know what? Now there's so many good musicians all around the world because of the internet, the accessibilities. Back in my days, probably back in your days too, like I remember my only accessibilities were the DVD from Peter Eskin, the DVD from Terry Bozzio. You know, like I can count them, like the series of Weckl, Dennis Chambers, Calayuta, and after that, I remember I was recording on MTV videos where I discovered you, and I was a big fan. Even when I was 12, I was watching David Letterman and Jay Leno and all, like Saturday. I'm still watching Saturday Night Live. You know, I'm the kind of guy like that. I like my Saturday Night Live. So, and that was my accessibilities. Now you go online and it's all there.
Oh, it's almost too much.
It's a buffet.
I know. Back in the day, I had those DCI videos. Did you ever get who else? Rod Morgenstein had.
Rod Morgenstein.
That was a big influence. And who else? Oh, Greg Bissonette had one at the time that was out.
Was a very good one, actually. Yeah. Oh, yes.
Solo at the beginning.
Yeah. Exactly. Awesome.
Yes,
yeah. There's what was the Kenny Aronoff? Kenny has his DVD.
Yes, that's another one. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, and I remember they were expensive. Sorry.
What's that? No, I said Steve Smith. I just saw Steve Smith.
Steve Smith. Man, I remember that DVD. Yeah, and he has his tank top. Yeah. Like other fashion, other days.
Yeah.
But it's so great. I've seen Steve Smith like millions of times live. Like, I mean, even at the Yoshi in Oakland, close to San Francisco in the Bay Area, with a band, a jazz band. I remember like a long time ago. Man, that guy play crazy, man. It's really it's a super player. Anyway, like I said, and like you said, it's maybe too much. I like sometimes to don't have that accessibility, and I'm surprised, and I can enjoy something. The other day, someone asked me, "Do you have Apple Music in your iPhone?" I'm like, "Yes," but I didn't put it. Why? Well, I'm picking albums, and I'm listening one or two albums at the time for I can enjoy what I'm listening. You know, like right now I'm back to Michel Camilo, the Latin stuff, and just because I want to enjoy all the album and taking time, it's my way to learn. But everybody has different ways. You know what I mean? So
I get it. Yeah. That's all.
It's over, my friend. It's done. So sorry about that. Where the people can reach you? Give us your website. Where are the media?
I've got the usual. You can find me on Facebook, on Instagram is the easiest way to find me. And I'm actually building a website now, or having it built to advertise the online lessons. But right now it's not up and active. So, I mean, not the lessons. Sorry, the online drum tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just hit me up on Facebook or Instagram.
Hey, thanks, man. I think with you, I could spend 1 hour talking. No, I was starting. We're going to the good way. You know, I have fun with you, so I'm sure we could talk for 1 hour and
I have
about
a couple
a lot.
of moody stories I could share too.
Yeah, go ahead.
We'll do a part 2.
We'll do a part 2.
Absolutely, yeah.
2021. Actually, if the border open, I have a few friends in Florida, and I could maybe go down there with my cameras and do it in your studio instead to be by distance. When
that'd be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, but 2020, where the show is booked, we're overbooked. So,
that's good. That's a good thing. Good for you.
So, hey, thanks, man, and
Thank you.
keep you posted. Be safe.
All right, man. Thank you
Bye-bye.
so much, Eric.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for Billy for being a cool guy like that. If you never heard about him, you have to. You have a lot of good stuff online. You will see him playing with the NSYNC, Pat Benatar, and many other bands. You can check it out on YouTube or Instagram. Same thing with Drumfield Cafe. You can have all those interviews on the YouTube and the Facebook from Drumfield Cafe. All the previous season, if you miss it, it's 71 shows, so interviews. So you can go check that out. They're there since February 2020. So see you. All right, so we're back. My next artist is an amazing artist, amazing percussion player and drummer. He actually played with so many great artists. I will just mention a few: Bjork, Peter Gabriel, Robert Plant, The Verve, Amy Winehouse, Pet Shop Boys, Sinead O'Connor, Jeff Beck, and many, many more. He also have performed on different soundtracks such as Moulin Rouge, The Insider, City of Angels, and a few James Bonds. He already wrote a few drum books too, such as Symmetrical Sticking for Snare Drum, Drum Set, and Percussion, and The Indian Rhythm for Drum Set. That guy is a super good example of how to mix percussion and drumming. Let's go see him right now. Okay, so let's go with Pete Locektt. How are you doing, my friend?
Hey, Eric, how are you, mate?
I'm pretty good. Thank you for accepting to be on the show. It's super nice. We'll do like around 20-25 minutes of chat, and I think it won't be enough because you have a crazy biography, my friend, to look around. So,
you know what, as well, is that for the first time in an interview, like behind me, you can see a wall that I've painted. So there you go. This is an exciting new revelation.
I have a pretty cool background. The mirror on the back.
Yeah, it's really heavy. It weighs about 20 kilos.
Oh,
ridiculous! So ridiculous.
I hope it won't interfere with the Wi-Fi if it's too heavy.
Well, if it falls off on top of me, then you'll get like Pete Locektt crushed online.
Exactly. Yeah, it will be like a premiere. That's cool, man. So, hey, First of all, I read your bio. I knew you. So, but before I saw a lot of like playing you did by the past, but you have a very impressive lineup. And what I was very impressed is you really didn't choose to make the normal path. Like as a percussion player, like people will go to college, they will learn like the marimbas or classical or Afro-Cuban, and that's it, and they will do a show. How you become to learn and wanted to learn like Indian in South Asia and all those percussion when you grew up as 19 years old or 18 years old?
Yeah, well, it was all a big accident, to be perfectly honest with you.
Okay.
You know, I mean, even starting the drums in the beginning, I was just walking past a drum shop and you know, saw an advert in the window, drum lesson, you know, £5. So I popped in, had a drum. 2 weeks later, I was in a punk band. Okay. And that, you know, for me, that was the first thing in my entire life, apart from football as a kid, watching football. That's the first thing that totally resonated with me. And I thought it's immediate. It was an immediate life decision. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Wow.
And so that's what I focused on. You know, I saved up some money and decided I was going to move to London. I just played in a few local bands, you know, in the meantime. So like 18 months after that, I moved to London, starting to pursue a career as a drummer. And the Indian connection was very similar, you know, quite by accident. You know, I came across a free gig. It was Zakir Hussain and the great Ali Akbar Khan, you know, made two amazing legends. And, you know, and then a couple of weeks later, I lived in Tottenham then in North London. A newspaper came through the front door and had fallen open on the mat, a free newspaper, and there was a big advert for tabla lessons. And
cool.
that was all a big accident.
It's a good accident. There's worse than that, I guess. But it's good you mentioned tablas. I never played tabla, but I know how it worked out. Like there's a lot of, it's like a language. You will learn the patterns and all. How you became to do that at first? Because what I understand as well, you need to learn at first the way to play it, and after that you will go on your tablas. But for you, how your master like they teach you the way to play them at first?
It's you're freezing up quite a bit, just so you know, on the stream. Your video is freezing up a lot here. Anyway, answer to the question. You know, it's something you've got to take very slowly. Tabla is, you know, one of the most complex percussion instruments in the world. There's no argument. No one would argue against that. You know, it simply is, with all the different strokes, you know, fingering, you know, with this finger, that finger, and, you know, creating harmonics with another finger, and, you know, all of the different, you know, strokes and combinations of strokes. And then, of course, the sets of syllables. And then, you know, beyond that, then you've got this incredibly complex, you know, rhythmic world. And so it's really, I mean, when I started the tabla, you know, I learned it for a bit, and then I had a 6-year period in my Indian studies where I used to have 4 4-hour lessons a week. And that's all I did, practice the rest of the time. I didn't work a job. I didn't do anything. I just did that the whole time. 6 years of that, and it, you know, it needs that because it's so complex. It's so complex, and you know, and I'm still a baby with it. I still know the basics.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. But well, it's a life learning process, I guess.
Absolutely, yeah. It's amazing.
Sorry if the internet is not good. Maybe it's possible because I realize maybe today they're doing some construction around town, so maybe it's possible.
Right. Cool.
Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry for that.
It was just that one moment.
Okay. Well, it's possible. Well, it's good you mentioned that because I was looking at your book the other day because you did a few books. So, but there's one I was very impressed is when you talk about how to integrate Indian percussions, rhythms, or like to a drum sets. And that was interesting. So how you became with an idea to write a book, because there's a way to start from a point. You will bring those ideas, but to write a book, it's a big challenge.
Well, you know, one of the things that it took me a long time after learning Indian, first various Indian drums, you know, tabla from the north, kanjira, mridangam from the south, you know, various drums. It was very hard for me to orchestrate that on other percussion or on tabla or really hard to work out how to do it. And slowly, I kind of gathered together different methods and different approaches. And then after, some while, when I started to do more educationally in workshops and drum camps and stuff like that, I devised a method of taking the basics and applying that to drum set and percussion. So, basically a simple progression of the syllables, first of all, then the syllables with clapping.
Yep.
And then instead of the syllables, you make the syllables into a sticking. And then instead of clapping, you use a foot ostinato. And then you orchestrate that on the drum set and blah, blah, blah. And then you can do the same thing with percussion as well. And so I developed this way of teaching it, because for me, the most important thing is to build bridges between all these things so people can interconnect and share with a lot of that, be inspired and pushed forward with a lot of those different ideas. And then out of that, I started to do quite a bit of work with Steve Smith, both educationally and recording and performance. And from that, Hudson said, do you want to do put a book out on Hudson? So I was like, okay, yeah, let's do that. I hadn't really thought of doing it as a book. And so it kind of came about through that, like as a practical way of presenting the information to drum set players and percussionists. And then it became a book.
Yeah, that's interesting, because there's not much of those around. I'll be honest with you. I have a lot of drum books and percussion and rhythm, and that's a good book for people. They wants to learn different ways to play drum set.
It's Indian Rhythms for the Drum Set on Hudson Music, and we're just well into a new one with Steve Smith. Both of us are writing a book together. So watch this space basically with that.
Okay, that sounds good, because you wrote 3 books. Is that right? Total or
I've forgotten now. There's quite a few. There's a book on symmetrical stickings. For
this one.
Drum.
Yeah.
Bars, building blocks.
There's volume 1 and 2, right? Or there's a few volumes on that version, right?
There's only one volume.
Volume 1. Okay.
Yeah, and a novel as well. I wrote a sci-fi novel a few years ago.
I saw that too.
Survivor's Guide to Eternity.
That now. It's good, but it's always good to learn to write something, because they always bring ideas, and during the time you're writing it, other ideas will come out.
It's an amazing process.
And it's where you realize you could make like I said, like a volume 1, 2, 3, 4 of everything. It's endless. But it's cool. I mean, I want the people go check it out where they can. Those books are available everywhere, because it's awesome.
Most of my books are on Hudson Music. So if you go to Hudson Music, like I've just written a new one, a beginner's guide to Kanjira playing, the South Indian small hand drum. And that was massive. I mean, I did that in lockdown, actually, when lockdown started, and that involved, it's a big work. There's nearly 1,400 audio examples that I've recorded. So basically, for every example in the book, you can click on the when it's in the Hudson app or in the Hudson e-reader, you can click on the musical example, and it will play in either slow or medium, slow or fast tempos. So that's cool. That was a big
project
of work.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of people are doing that since last March. People jump in different big projects. They have more time, so they can do that. so there's a bad situation, but sometimes you can use those situations for growing up other things, So But talking about that, there's something I wanted we talk about. I realized I knew, but I know you record a lot of movie soundtracks, and I didn't know you did a few James Bonds and things like that. I knew James Bond, but I didn't know you did a few others. When you go to a sessions, how you process those? Because we know, for example, James Bond, they will ask you for different percussion, and you play a lot of percussions. How you manage to did you meet the musical director first and you check what they want to do, or you're like the kind of guy show up with a truck of percussions and start recording?
Normally people, my session career took a slightly different path, because for a lot of it, it was, in the beginning, it was 50-50 of my solo projects and my own CDs and stuff like that, and then session work. And what happened out of that was that my session work changed, because people were hiring me because of the solo projects and because of the solo work that I was doing and the collaborative projects, and they liked the way that things were put together in an eclectic and open-minded way. So really, most of the stuff like that I've been called upon because of my output, as a soloist and collaborator. And then they when people ask you in that way, they give you free creative rights to kind of do it how you like, really. Wow. So I was very lucky. I turned down a lot of sessions because I don't want to go in as a with an orchestra and as a just a
it's heavy
ready. Well, it's fine, it's not, but it's not what doesn't interest me. So I think it's really important for music you've got to do what you love. If you don't love it, for me personally, I've never been a compromising sort of person, but if I don't love to do it, I'm not going to do it. I'm not interested in it. For me, the passion of music, when music is really good, it's just an incredible thing. And when it's really bad, in the beginning, early days of my career, you do some gigs and they'd be bad gigs or things wouldn't work out or it'd be annoying. You'd be depressed for days,
for sure.
It means so much to you. So, I'm not interested in doing that. And that's why even now, I don't really do any sessions at all, actually. Almost 98% of what I do is my own solo collaborative projects and, all that stuff, because that's what I really enjoy doing. If someone says, oh, I've got a funk track, can you come along and play, like such and such a conga player on the track, it's like, well, I can, but actually that's not where my heart is. So if they say, can you come along and bring a whole wide range of percussion and make something completely different, then I'm really interested in that,
It's good to be honest with you, because a lot of people, they cannot do that, or they cannot afford to do that. But at the same time, you said something right. You play for the music, the love of the music. So if you're not enjoying what you will do, that will be transfer on the music.
Absolutely. And even in the beginning, they were really tough financial decisions to make, because I'd be, I stopped touring with bands about 15 to 18 years ago. I stopped doing any tours with pop bands and stuff like that, because it just did my head in. All the people, not so much the artists, but a lot of the management people and the people around the periphery that were so excited to be on the road with someone famous. Whatever. I'm not, so I couldn't really, and I'm not the sort of person that remains silent. So I turned down, all of ever since I've turned down every kind of live tour that's been offered me. It doesn't bother me now, but in the beginning they were tough financial decisions to make.
For sure.
Because I would earn a lot less money. Luckily, I still had the studio stuff, but I didn't have other avenues that I've got now. I think you've got to be really a creative thinker financially in the music world now. So for me, like, I've got my app. I'm developing a new app, a new plug-in for Contact.
That's great.
I've got a lot of composite library music and composed stuff that gets used regularly. So, and I think it's really important to really widen your perspective, everything you do, and think in terms of that. When you with a band, get into the writing. Get writing credits, get on the track.
Yeah. It's in our generation, like, right now in the 2020s and up, you need to be like creative, like you said, and be open-minded to do a lot of things. And you just mentioned something interesting about apps. Musicians sometimes doesn't think about that, but it's a good way you can do things like apps. You can bring your ideas on apps, and everybody has an iPhone or a phone or whatever, they can connect and download those apps. So it's a very I think it's a good idea for bringing you as musician in the technology in some ways.
Yeah, and also in terms of being a businessman about things. It's like, for me, I've always been very organized with different stuff, and that, like when you do sessions, you fill in all the forms and such. In the beginning, I wasn't really so attentive to that. Like, I've just resolved something that happened in 2003. I worked on Amy Winehouse's first album. But at that time, she was completely unknown. So quite often, I think I was doing a session next in the studio at Metropolis in London, next door with, I think it was a Pet Shop Boys album or something like that. And at the end of it, the producer said, "Oh, do you want to come into we're doing this other project in the studio next door. Do you want to play on that?" So I said, "Okay, we've got this female singer," and so I went in and did some stuff on. But when the forms were filled in, the track names weren't filled in, because when you're working in the studio, often at that point, the tracks don't even have names. They might have a working name, but then it becomes a completely different name.
It's true.
2 months down the line. So then the guy who does my PPL payments, a guy called Simon Harrison, who's Gavin Harrison's brother, actually.
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay.
And, we couldn't register for this track because the only forms that they had didn't have the track names on it.
Oh.
But then, because of the clearing out the house thing, I've found the form that's got the track name on it.
Okay, lucky you.
So it's perfect, really. So, but like the point of that is you got to be a good, you got to have a good business head on you.
Yeah.
And don't let people beat you down with price, because people are always trying to, can you do it for blah de blah? It's like, actually, you have to set your price.
Oh yeah.
And it's hard now, and you say this to people and they're like, well, I want the gig so much, and I understand that, and there's competition and stuff like that. But really don't undersell yourself.
Yeah, you need to respect yourself. That's a good point. Actually, you were talking about when you were touring, and you didn't tour for a long time, but I'm sure you still get a lot of good experiences, and you tour with, like you just mentioned, like Pet Shop Boys, or like Amy Winehouse, or Bjork, and so studio gigs. Okay, was studio gig. So,
and the thing about another reason that I didn't do the touring was that I wanted to keep my calendar free. It's fine, you could go in and do a session, but for me, it was more important to do my collaborative tours and collaborative projects. And then suddenly you slap 6 months out the diary for something.
Okay.
Although it's tasty in terms of money, it got in the way for me of my collaborative projects.
Yeah. No, because my my point was like when you do a session compared to be on tour with the same artist or different artists, do you approach the music the same way? Do you bring the same setup, because you're really a drummer hybrid, percussion?
Single session is completely different, and it really depends on
the demands
on who you're working with and what they say. So I try and you have to pin them down to certain instruments. You can't, just bring percussion. I can't work like that. I had someone contacting me for a session recently, and I didn't do it in the end. I gave it to another percussionist. But when they contacted me, they said, I want it to be like, I forget the song now, such and such a song is the vibe. And so I said, okay, I didn't know the song. I said, can you send me it? Okay. So they sent me, it's this unbelievable, this story. They sent me this song. There's no percussion on it.
Okay.
There's nothing. No percussion. Yeah.
Free.
Did you do that? Yeah. Oh, I've done it. It's finished.
I will. Yeah.
I didn't say to him, look, there's no percussion on it. I just gave it to someone else, because I know that person is going to be a nightmare. It's a total nightmare.
So to work with.
Something else, Going back to for me, my psychology when you're doing sessions is basically you think of yourself as a sound module. So you go in and you're a sound module for someone. So they tell you, oh, I want this, and maybe you can pin it down to, first of all, you listen to what's on the track. So if there's a drummer playing loads of floor toms and big tom things, you're not going to suddenly psycho drum over the top. You look for top end stuff and mid-range stuff that will cut through. So there's the tonal thing and lots of obvious considerations. But the bass line is, you say to them, what do you want? And you don't go in with an attitude of, oh, well, Indian tablas aren't played like that, you've got to do this. None of that. You tell me what you want and I'll do my best to do it. That's really it. I don't care what you want me to do on any of the drums. You tell me what you want and I'll do it. There was one session I did early on, this was actually, and I turned up at the session and I got the drums out and stuff in the studio. And then I just at that point, I only had one box of, in a big box, but, one box of like effects and shakers and little funny sounds. So I tipped it out on the carpet.
Okay.
It was kind of like the size of 2 bongo boxes, if you imagine that size.
Yeah.
Out on the carpet. And the mics and everything were in position already. They've got it already. And the guy come running in, and he's like, "Wow, what was that?"
What was that?
And I said, "Oh, I've just emptied the box." And he said, "Can you do that again?"
Like,
I said, well, if I put it back in the box, I'm pretty sure I can get pretty close.
Can try it. Yeah, exactly. Let's try it out.
You know, so I had to listen to the track, you know, and then he gave me the nod, and then I took the box out, and
wow,
brilliant. I get paid for that.
Yeah, yes. Well, yeah, there's like, I think it was like Robin DiMaggio was mentioning, like he was playing with the Backstreet Boy, with the the New Kids on the Block, and he was faking drumming and pushing cymbals with his finger just for faking. He was playing, and he's like, I was getting paid like $5,000 per show only for faking. I was playing drums, and it was not even my tracks. It was a track for someone else. So it's like probably the 808 recording, drumming, something. So it was like I was getting paid for just faking drumming. So you never know. So yeah, you're doing it. Hey, it's already done. It's around 20 something minutes. So it's very short. But before to go, please tell us if you have info you would like to talk about, like for the subscriber, like where they can reach you, buy your books, if you give lessons or whatever. It's your time. You can use that platform for that too.
Great, yeah. I mean, just on I guess all the social media links will be with this. That's a good place to keep up with everything that's happening and what I'm up to and all that. And I think now's a really it's a really good time for that. Interconnectivity amongst drummers and percussionists and the whole music world. It's kind of great.
Yeah.
That we're in that family together, and hopefully we'll all be back out on the on the road soon, and sharing drinks together rather than digital exchanges.
Of course, if I go back to Europe, not so soon, but like in the near future, like I hope so. And yeah, we need to share a beer. If you're back to Canada or something, let's have a drink for sure. I will be more than happy to have a pint of beer or something. Was that water?
My sponsorship,
You need that logo on your bass drum, so please. Hey, thanks for accepting to be on the show, Pete. You're an amazing person, great player, and I'm super happy. You did a lot of stuff, man. I really want the people look at you if they didn't know you. You did a lot of great performances like Drumeo at other platforms. They can check out the video you did. And thank you for being there. And we will see you soon, my friend.
Brilliant. Top stuff. Ciao.
Take care, man. Bye-bye. Okay, hi, guys. So before to go to the next guest, I just want to remind you to go with YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram channel of Drumfield Cafe for getting your news. We are trying to give the most information as we can every day or every week. So if you're interested by some contest or like some promotion or even new details with artists passing on the show, the only way to get them right now it's Facebook, but Instagram and YouTube are also a good platform for getting information. So let's go with the artist. He's from Toronto, Canada. He worked with a lot of people. So Hilary Duff, Kelly Clarkson, Jesse McCartney, Natasha Bedingfield, Deep Purple, Ian Gillian, Dave Stewart, Mick Jagger, Mandy Moore, and well, the lineup is pretty long. It's a great session artist and a great guy. I know him for a long time. So, hey, Randy Cooke, how are you doing?
Hey, Eric, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for being on the show.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
So you are in California right now, right?
I am in California, and it is incredibly hot, but I love it. I love it. I remember winters well, so I never take a sunny day for granted.
No, that's true, because minus 25 in Toronto Celsius, it's a pretty intense winter.
You know, I used to have an ice scraper for the inside of my car.
Wow.
Because if you didn't warm your car up and you started driving, your breath and your body heat would actually cause ice inside. So I'd be driving and scraping my windshield.
So that's full of class, you know. You're like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, but now it's good. Oh, sorry, it's good. You're like back in Cal, and how's your life so far since the COVID situation arrived?
Yes. Interestingly enough, all live work has ceased and halted. Understandably so, because of no gatherings, et cetera, no touring. But my studio life has ramped up a little bit. I think because people have these songs on their hard drives and they were going to get around to recording more things. And now they're like, okay, well, there's not much else to do. I might as well, finish producing this album. So I've been doing a lot of studio work, and I'm happy about that. with studio work, as you know, the drums are in a room isolated from the engineer. So it's automatic isolation. So it's pretty safe. Yeah.
Do you have your studio in your basement, or you have a studio outside?
Yeah, I share a studio with two very good friends about 15 minutes away from where I live. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
because you're lucky, because a lot of people doesn't have access to that at all, even not as we can laugh about that, but even a pad, because some apartments are so bad with like soundproofing, they cannot even play on a table with a snare drum.
I know. I have at home, I keep an electronic kit, a Yamaha electronic kit for that very reason. So it's quiet. If I need to work on some stuff, practice or work out some parts, but I understand that it's a huge challenge for many. Yeah.
It's been a change situation, big change turnover for a lot of people, but it's like I know you, a lot of people know you, but a lot of people maybe doesn't know you, because that's why the channel is here. And I just said it, you're from Toronto in Canada, but how did you start playing drum? Did you play other instrument, or you jump on that thing right away, or how it happened to you?
That is a very good question. I was sort of I entered the world of drumming through osmosis. And I have a picture on my Facebook profile of me. I think I was 6 months old, so I couldn't even sit up. My mother was propping me up from behind, and I had sticks in my hands on a snare drum. It was my father's snare drum. He was as a hobby. My father was in the Toronto Scottish pipe band.
Wow. Yeah.
We don't have Scottish heritage, but he happened to be
playing on it,
a snare drummer. And so around the house, we always had sticks and drums and things lying around. So I guess you could say I was I followed in my father's footsteps, and it was something that just I never thought of. I think it was either drummer or magician or baseball player. Those were the three things.
Like, okay, we have a different option here. That's cool.
Yeah, those are the only three things I ever wanted to be. And drumming came quite naturally to me. As I grew up, I still studied, of course, and I private lessons and whatnot. But it's just in my blood for sure.
Oh, that's cool. Who have been your biggest influences as a drummer or musician, for example?
Well, as a drummer,
I mean, a drummer or other instrument. That's why I mean.
Sure. Well, I mean, musically, my biggest influences really came from two worlds: the funk and R&B, and reggae. Oddly enough, I mean, the very first band I was in, I was the only white kid in a 7-member funk and reggae band, all black. And these were my family. Like, we were Cub Scouts when we were 10 years old. Wow. And at 10 years old, none of us knew we were even going to be musicians. But eventually, when we were in high school, you play drums, I play bass, you're a singer, you want to, so they formed a band. So it was a family thing. But yes, funk and reggae were my most huge influences in terms of music. I remember when I first heard The Police, I was blown away, because why? Here was this white guy playing rock, but they had reggae influences in their music, and I thought, this is perfect. This is like my music, the combination of two. So and as far as drummers, of course, Stuart Copeland. But then as my parents just listened to the radio a lot. So all I heard was pop songs, right? Okay. Pop and middle of the road and singer-songwriter, so of course I ended up hearing Steve Gadd on everything. I remember Steve, that guy recorded
Clapton.
Right. So I gravitated towards him as a player, just a brilliant musician. And so, I think those are the two drummers when I first started that I zeroed in on, Yeah.
Oh, it's good because it's two influences, and those have been influencing a lot of other drummers.
Oh,
because
for
I
sure.
remember the snap, the snare snap, and the cross sticking of Stuart Copeland.
Yeah,
I remember, and an old video from Steve Gadd in a studio doing the famous samba. Like his samba with open-handed with the thumb. And I remember, and I was like 10 years old, and I'm like, oh, that's a cool stuff.
I know.
And it's true, he did so many albums, so many.
I know.
Good influences.
For sure.
And did you jump to did college or university or
no? I the only extracurricular music education that I had was the Royal Conservatory of Music. I had a 1-year scholarship for percussion. So drum set was only one part of many parts. When you have a percussion scholarship, you study timpani and you study marimba and hand percussion, and drum set was one little piece of that. But through, I got my first drum set when I'm a late starter. I'm an early starter as far as being exposed to the instrument. 6 months old, I had sticks.
You have,
But I didn't have a drum set till I was 15.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
For Christmas, I remember I got my first drum set. I started in a marching band at 12. So when I was in grade 8, in the summertime, I joined a marching band. So already in grade 8, at 12 years old, I was starting to develop my hands only. And just whenever, when you go to high school in the morning in band class, there's a drum set, 5 minutes.
You go.
That was it. So, but then 15, I got my drum set for Christmas. And then that year, that band started. We formed this band.
Wow.
At 15. We were all underage. So it was pretty
That's
interesting.
cool. And did you took, you mentioned you took a few lessons with drummers. Who you took lessons with?
I did. My very first teacher was a brilliant player, Dan Bodanis, and he's very well known player. And I took lessons with Dan, and then I took lessons with Rick Gratton. Those were my two teachers, and I giggle because their scope of musicianship is far beyond even now to this day what I've ever gone. But the lessons I had are literally invaluable. Between the two of them, I learned independence, and I learned I learned to read. Certain just the most basic, most important things. I feel when you're going to attack an instrument. If you can't read, it's hard to expand your vocabulary from other sources.
That's true.
I learned to have a very good discipline when practicing. You know how it is when we all sit down at a drum set, the first 10 minutes, we're just playing all the craziest things that we already know. And we only had a half an hour and now 15 minutes is gone. So I learned at a young age out of fear that I remember one of my teachers saying, if you come back to the next lesson and you didn't practice, then you don't have to come back. It's okay. Like,
okay.
So like you didn't have to come back knowing everything perfectly, because any good teacher can tell if you've worked on something.
Oh, for sure.
You can tell. So anyways, my point is, I guess, is that the discipline of practicing the right way and learning to read and concentrating on rudiments and your hands, all of that stuff is provided an amazing base,
It's a good point you just said, because I remember it's hard to lie to your drum teacher. Like, I mean, they know their mistakes, but we can lie to the public if we do a mistake and we make a weird drum fill or a hot meter. The band will laugh. They will look at you like, "What are you doing?" You know what I mean? But totally. But to lie to your teacher, it's kind of hard. It's another thing. I remember when I was at university one day, I fall on the ice. You were mentioning was cold. I hurt my back and my knee, and I didn't practice for the week. But instead to mention that, what my teacher was Paul Brochu at that time.
Oh, so, Paul's amazing.
Yeah, and it's like, how are you doing, Eric? I'm okay. And I start playing, and he looked at me after 30 minutes, like, you didn't practice shit this week. I'm like, no, I didn't practice much. And I told him, well, I had an injury. I didn't practice for 4 days. You should have told me, like, it's okay. You don't need to lie. I know you will. You didn't do nothing.
Yeah, you tried to just, one night before, you tried to cram. Yeah.
Yeah, and with him was hard because he was teaching me 2 hours or 3 hours per 2 weeks. Because he was on tour with Gino Vanelli. So when he was coming, it was 3 hours in a class doing rudiment for 1 hour, patterns for 1 hour, and songs for 1 hour. So, man, anyway, this is school time. I cannot do that anymore.
but you remember how important it was to meet that schedule and to put in the time and the discipline properly. Because if you didn't, you're going to get found out. You're going to be exposed, right?
Yeah, it's good you say that for the people they're watching, because even if it's for fun, when you play and for yourself, it's a good point. Some people, they are like, I don't have band, I'm playing only in my backyard, but I cannot, or in my garage, whatever, and I cannot growing up as a musician. But even if it's only for fun, you can establish some lines, and that will make you, that discipline would make you growing, even if it's a beginner drummer.
Absolutely. I tell when I teach younger students, the most important conversation I have is, if you commit to yourself 30 minutes, no phone, no TV, no water break, do 30 minutes. If you make a mistake, slow down, keep going. Most guys, when they make a mistake, they go and play a fill, like you get distracted very easily. Your brain is frustrated. You're frustrated. I'm not getting this. And you waste time. If you just slow down, you actually 30 minutes even a day will get you longer than an hour of just half. You know what I mean? Like,
it's a good investment. Actually, going from there to your experiences, because you did a lot. I was checking your bio, and you play with so many musicians and big names and people in like big production. How I know you said discipline, but how you prepare to like all of those? I mean, I know you might adjust from which production, which artist, but do you have any way to prepare to arrive to the gig ready?
Of course, I know I'm not going to tell you anything you already don't know. As far as preparation, you get your confidence. Your confidence is going to come from what you know and how prepared you are. And whatever that takes for some people. For some people, preparation is listening to that music over and over again, etc., and memorizing. For me, I'm a half guy. I make cheat notes, and I don't write everything out. I just write markers, right, to remind me where to go. But the combination of those two things, I have done it so often that I know that when I show up, sometimes I know the material better than the artist. Sometimes the idea is to sound like you're already in the band, for people to come up after and say, oh, how long have you been doing this tour or this gig? And you say, oh, last night was my first night. You want that surprise, because you've come in and you prepared and confident. How you do it is really, I know a lot of people get nervous. It's very common, right, to be nervous. And when you're nervous, that's when mistakes get made. And that's when you're thinking too much about something. You're concentrating. You're not, you don't have focus. But all of those things are never an issue if you give yourself enough advance time, if you don't procrastinate, don't wait till the last minute, all those things that I know you already know. But even though we already know them, doesn't mean that we do them,
It's true.
So I actually put calendar reminders. Like I have, for example, I have a live performance. I don't think it's streaming, but tomorrow I'm doing a performance with a guitar player, Josh Gooch from Shania Twain's band. Cool. And we're doing some songs that I just recorded for a solo record for the bass player from Shania Twain, Derek Frank. And in my calendar after this interview, it says work on material for tomorrow. If it's funny, you would think, well, I would just remember that, but I might not. I might get distracted. I might not remember to do that. And I have to actually schedule myself, tell myself, get in there, get on the drums and put some time in. Don't have any distractions. And eventually through repetition and through it's like this. If you're running a 1 mile race, you run 5 miles every day, so that when that race comes, the 1 mile, it's nothing. It's like it's zero. So if I have to play, say, 5 songs tomorrow, I'm going to play those 5 songs 5 times today, 10 times today, because when I go to play tomorrow, it's going to be second nature. Right? Yeah.
It's super important to get prepared, and some people doesn't put enough energy, and you need to be honest with yourself too. Some people, I did it by mistake when I was a kid, like 20 years ago. I accepted contract, and I was overbooked, and already like 10 bands, like one night, you know what I mean? And and one day I realized I showed up to a gig, I did the show, and the singer came to me, is like, that was your last gig, was my third with them, maybe. Because I didn't put enough energy, because my head was to 10 other projects. So now I'm older for sure, and I can say no to this, no, yes. And if I say yes, I'm gonna jump on the project.
Right. You're gonna put all the effort and the dedication to that for sure.
Exactly.
I think the last thing might be, when people get nervous, how do you deal with being nervous about playing to a big crowd or to on television or something? And I really think part of getting over that and dealing with that is knowing that even though no one else is admitting it, everybody's nervous.
Yeah,
you're all nervous. The singer, it doesn't matter how famous that person is. Like I only had an opportunity once to play with the Eurythmics when Dave Stewart and Annie Lennox reformed for one special show. It was a Grammys performance a bunch of years ago for the Beatles' 50th anniversary.
So cool.
And we just did one song. We did a Beatles song called "Fool on the Hill."
Okay, yeah.
And I'll never forget walking off this massive stage, in the front row, it's Paul McCartney and Stevie Wonder and like Ringo Starr. Like, we're walking off, we got a standing ovation. We're walking down the ramp, huge ramp off a huge stage, television set, live audience. And Annie, we're all walking together, and Annie turns to the group of us and says, "Was it okay? Did it sound, was it all right?" And therein, you're looking at an icon
for sure,
who has done thousands of shows, who still to this day has a little bit of insecurity like the rest of us. We want to do our best job. We want to perform our best. And did everyone like it? Do you think they liked And so just knowing that you're not the only one that's nervous, even if nobody's talking about it, everybody's nervous. Trust me. And a little bit in different amounts. But so that makes you feel better. You're like, okay, we're all in this together, and that brings down your stress level. It doesn't matter if you're in a club with 10 people, but that one person is your drum teacher that came to watch you play. Think about how nervous you would become.
Oh yeah, this it's funny you mentioned that. I'm used to do shows for 16 years in front of 2,000 to 3,000 people every night. Okay, every night I do that. And the other day, like before, like maybe 7 months ago, I did a little show in a jazz club. 40 person. I was nervous, like it's been for long, and I was really nervous. And that's 40%, but it's just because they were so close, the energy, and they're looking at you. And
the worst part is when other drummers come to watch you. That to me is the epitome of nervousness and stress and anxiety, because that the only person they're looking at is you on stage. Every note is under some sort of scrutiny, and it's nerve-wracking, but still, again, everybody is a little bit.
That's cool. So, you just mentioned a good story about playing in Paul McCartney, where it was there, and the other artists. In your mind, what can you describe one or two other super important performance or event you have to deal with, but you're not about nervous. You were happy. You did it, and when you finished, you were like, "Wow, I did that."
Yeah, sure. I mean, a bucket list show was my very first show. I only did maybe a dozen performances with Ringo Starr, but wow. I can tell you that the band rehearsed in Los Angeles without Ringo, and then we flew to London, and we were going to play a famous theater there. And literally, I met him at soundcheck on stage.
No stress, huh?
And I don't know about you, but like, not only is that a once in a lifetime opportunity, and I'm forever grateful for that, but I not having had rehearsed with him or hung out, or like, it's literally walking on stage, 2 drum sets, and hot, it was absolutely, you want to talk about being nervous.
Yeah.
But we played this performance. It was televised. It was live with an audience, and double drummers for a couple of tunes. And then he got up and sang some songs. And after that show, it's basically the feeling of like, did that even happen? Like, is that surreal? There's a feeling of like you're removed from that situation, like you're looking at yourself from above almost. But yeah, it was like that happened. That just happened. I just played with a Beatle.
That's a cool thing. But did you were replacing Greg Bissonette or
no,
it was another thing. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, no, that's good. Greg, who is a dear friend, is always been and still is the drummer for the All-Star Band.
The All-Star Band.
And Ringo, when he released his CD Liverpool 8, that was the year that Liverpool was also named City of Culture in Europe. They do a thing, City of Culture. This year it's this city, next year it's another city. But Liverpool was City of Culture. So Ringo's CD release called Liverpool 8 at the same time that his hometown was called City of Culture, lent itself to many, many amazing performances around that promotion. And so Dave Stewart had co-written that album with Ringo. Of course, they're buddies. I have a history with Dave, and I'm playing with Dave. And so Dave just suggested, you should just use my band. If you're gonna promote your CD that has not, it's a separate entity from your All-Star tour, then what? My band's already here and
they're there.
So we just, literally by luck and by fortune, we got to be ushered into this situation, which proves you just never know what's going to lead to what, right?
You never know.
You never know. Yeah.
No, but that's a cool thing. Hey, man, it's almost done. We have like 2 minutes. It's crazy. I could talk 1 hour with you.
I know. We need to do 10 more of these so I can tell you some more stories. Yeah.
Sorry, but tell me where the people can reach. I mean, first, do you teach sometime, or do you do like, how they can reach you?
Easily by emailing me, direct messaging me through Instagram or Facebook. Yeah.
Okay.
I have my website URL, but I just am so lazy to get around. Man, it's so many things: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Yeah. You can just hit the DM button and message me on either. It's easy to find.
That's so cool. Yeah. Hey, thanks for being part of the Drumfield Cafe season 2.
Oh, I love it. What a great blog. It's amazing.
It's a pleasure to have you. Anyway, I think we know each other for long, man. I think the first time I met you, was 2003 or 4, and it was with Matt at Remo.
Yes.
Matt Connor.
Of course, yeah.
I think it was a long time ago. I think the first time I met you, he was there, you were there. Or like, I don't remember where, but those people were there together. And 2003, 4.
I still keep in touch with him, and I still keep in touch with you.
You see, life is, we never know. Hey, thanks a lot, and we will keep you posted with all. Actually, if you have things to share, please let me know, and I will share it on the Drumfield Cafe.
Sounds great, buddy.
Take care, man.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
Bye-bye. Thanks for Randy for passing by. If you have any information or you want to see what is going on with him or whatever, like he says, you can go on his Instagram, YouTube, or like personal page. For Drumfield Cafe, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook are the pages for following us. Today, I wish you a Merry Christmas. I hope you're going to have a new start in 2021. This was the last show of the 2020 of the season 2. In January, we'll see us with season 3. So be there. I would like to thank everybody are working on the show, like Frank Camus, Vincent Tédémarais, and Denis Richard Jr. They are, if they were not there, the show won't be the same. So I would like to thank them. And for everybody watching the show, thank you so much for being there every week. And we have like a very cool lineup coming out in 2021. So be there. Thank you for everything. See you there. Bye-bye.